today. Have you
Okay.
ever taken the initiative to dive into an area outside of your primary responsibilities? If you did, what motivated you and what was the outcome?
Uh, like outside of my work area.
Yes, you
Yes. So the one thing like I meant I want to mention that when I joined this company, like I saw that there are like a lot of there are lack of documentation in there, like I think the previous DevOps also worked here in that company, and then developers also working in that company, but I didn't see a lot of documentation. So every time I face issue, I was looking for documentation, but I couldn't find any documentation. Then in one, like sprint plan meeting, they were asking some like, okay, ideas or something to improve. So I told them that one of the most important thing is, like, whatever you do, every single steps needs to be documented. Like if you do a simple task, like you just click one button, like, okay, you go to Jenkins or you go to AWS or you go to EC2, somewhere you do even one click check mark you're doing, that needs to be documented. Like, okay, so next time whoever is doing this the same job, they will understand, okay, because of this tick mark this is happening. Because for small tick, like small tick mark, you never know that, like, that will cause you the major problem. And recently in our company there was one caching issue, like that something was not caching or something was caching for a long time. I believe the caching part, so I'm not gonna go that caching part, right? So the browser cache something, or like the cache part is like a different, so this is like totally different thing. But my point is, like there was a small thing in the nginx configuration file that was triggering that issue, and then we are trying to refresh, but it was caching the old data. So we are trying to figure it out, like, okay, how to do this one. Then finally, when we discuss with the other developers and me and my managers, we are checking the configuration file and the next configuration file. Then we saw that there is a part in the configuration file that says that mm, I'll explain you in like a specific part, that in the location mapping in nginx there is a location mapping. I believe you know that. I believe you went through this nginx part. So there is location mapping. In the location mapping you can mention how long a browser can cache your, like, information. So there is a part it called expires -1, expires 12 hour, expired 360 days, something like this. So all our location mapping, we saw that we set up as no caching. No caching means expires -1. That is no caching, means you doesn't want to cache anything. But we saw that one of the location mapping has like 180 days, something like that, and that was causing the issue. So that small one sentence was causing a big issue for our new application that we developed. So then finally we figured it out. That was the part. And then I told my manager why this is not documented. Like, why caching was not documented? Why every time we cannot write it down, like, okay, we are creating a new location mapping, and then we also have to mention that for new location mapping the cache policy is this. Why is not there? So that was my idea, like that out of my work that I suggested every single steps or every single thing that we do need to be documented. And then everybody agreed on that. And then also the now developers, they are also documenting their task, even though that I don't need, but they're develop like documenting their part. And whatever I do every single day, if it is new, I document that. And I told my manager that everybody has to document their part, so that the next time whoever is coming to work on this, they can see the documents. So they will not have the problem that I have, because every time I like go through some problem and I had to look for documents and I couldn't find any documents. So that was the out of my, like like the question that you asked, actually, that
That
is
is
that.
amazing. No,
Yeah.
this is amazing. This is the reason, this in TS4, we tell you that you put your own documentation together, you prepare your own question. That's the reason. Another core reason I can tell you now why you should do the documentation. You remember. So if you have done the same technical things today, if you have not done the documentation, if you come and it took the 3 days for you, And if you come back after 6 months, it will take again the 3 days. Why you do not do the documentation today? Once we all create the documentation, now we have a document repository. And then he mentioned, so if you come back, any issue, any ticket, you actually go to the documentation. Okay, this buzzword. You got the issue solved and it is solved. That's the reason documentation is the key. Thank you very much, everybody. I don't see any other questions.
I see there are two questions, Sibyl bhai.
Yep. How do you use AI to solve the problem?
I think before that,